All right. Today we're talking with Lacey Langford. Lacey, you're a financial coach, Air Force veteran, and military spouse. You're also the creator and host of the Military Money Show, a podcast dedicated to helping the military community make, save, and invest money wisely. You're the founder of MilMoneyCon, a national conference focused on bringing together military and financial professionals, which is coming up in April, by the way. Really looking forward to talking about that. Before we do, take us back. I want to hear what you did when you were in the Air Force.
Way back then, I was an information manager, which was, desk work, administrative stuff. I reviewed everybody's annual report. I corrected stuff. I did some computer things. And one of my big jobs that I got to do while I was on active duty is I worked for NATO. So I went to Italy for 7 months and was the admin for flights into the Baltic region. So that was an interesting trip. So, but yeah, administrative stuff is what I did when I was on active duty.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Talk a little bit about what your transition out of the Air Force was when you got out, with it, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mine was the description of piss poor planning. So I waited to the last minute to decide if I was going to get out. I actually had to sell back my leave because that's how short I was. And I just didn't plan it out. I was in school while I was on active duty, and I was kind of hemming and hawing if I wanted to have a career, stay in, get my degree, or I wanted to get out and get my degree. And I ended up landing on getting out, getting my finance degree, but I didn't plan it real well. I probably should have saved more money, had a better game plan of where I was going to live and finish school, but I ended up pulling it together. But it was a lot of waiting tables and hustling for the extra money, because that was in the Montgomery GI Bill that I had. It wasn't the post 9/11. So
yeah, not nearly as good as the one today.
Right. And anyway, it just wasn't a smooth transition because it lacked serious planning.
So you and I have known each other for several years now. We originally met through the USA Digital Influencers Group. USA used to bring those military-oriented podcasts and bloggers and mommy bloggers and military financial bloggers down to San Antonio, and we did a bunch of other really cool stuff. Got to go to the Army-Navy game that one year. It was pretty sweet.
I didn't get to do that. I wasn't in the group then. So that's a sore subject.
Yeah, they only did it once and then it was over. So if you missed that year, what was that, 2016 maybe?
They should bring it back.
Yeah.
They should bring it back.
That was awesome. But and then the last time we actually saw each other was at Podfest in Orlando, which I looked it up. It was like the weekend of March 6, 2020, right before everything shut down. I mean, we knew it was coming, and a lot of us were talking about like we might have to be renting cars and drive home if they shut down all the airline flights and everything. So it was like the last thing that anybody was able to do right before everything shut down. So, but what was kind of cool about Podfest in March of 20 was we were both participants in Military Creator Con, which is kind of a sub conference under the big Podfest. We had our own little room, and it was just the military folks in there talking, military creators talking about YouTube channels and podcasting and blogs and everything else. It was pretty cool just to be in there with our own peeps and get to know some of the military crowd more personal and everything. And then so now you're putting on your own conference, so MilMoneyCon, and it's the first one coming up in April of 2022. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but I'd like to go into a little more detail. You're actually a certified financial coach, and you started working for the military. What does the Air Force call it, or were you on the Army base the Army post when you were started as a financial coach? Like we like on a Navy base, we call it Navy Marine Corps Relief, and you were doing similar things as how you got started and kind of how you got into the military financial coaching realm.
Yes, I kind of started on my own, actually, with friends and family. And then I'm actually an accredited financial counselor, and I volunteered because that's really all I could do with my husband deploying every other year. And then the year he was home, he was gone for half of that year. So it's in the Army, it's financial readiness. So that's where, or AER, they, you kind of do both there. But yes, that's really where I did a lot of coaching and counseling, was volunteer work for the Army. And then I worked under a contract for the Department of Defense, and I've worked with all branches of the service at this point. So
yeah. And I think when I or got selected for the USAA Digital Military Influencers that some of those meetings and conferences we went to, I had no idea. I mean, there's a lot of really good military financial bloggers out there and everything. And you're one that's been around for probably as long as most of them, and you still in the game. So it was really a whole nother world out there. And it's really good because a lot of military folks, they get isolated from everything else. And if they don't know it and learn it on their own, they may not have a connection or a contact or chance to be mentored by somebody who really knows about military finance and the peculiarities of the military financial system, military life, and everything else. So talk a little bit about what you do on your podcast, and then before we get to talking about your conference.
Yeah, so the podcast is really a way to reach a lot of people and help them with money. That was a problem I was having as a coach, is I was limited by the person or people, a couple that were in front of me. It wasn't a large group, and I could reach more people and help more people by creating the podcast. And so I have guests or do solo shows, and we talk about things that can help you save more money for the current situation that you're in or for your retirement, help you learn how to invest, budget, just general topics, things like life insurance or car insurance, things that you need to do to protect your money since you've worked so hard for it. So it's really just helping people be better with their money that are in the military, because there's some unique situations. There's the thrift savings plan, there's the blended retirement system. There's also things that you have to weigh and make decisions, like a deployment's coming up or living close to a military installation. So you can come home after PT to visit with your family before a long day, because you spend a lot of time apart. So the time you can spend together, you want to make that happen. Well, that might cost you a little bit more money. So you're weighing, should we, spend more money on housing so we can spend more time together? So there's some unique situations that I think the podcast, I really try to showcase to people, like, having your credit and your money right, because it affects your security clearance. You could lose your security clearance if your money's not right. That's not something your civilian counterparts deal with and have
Right.
that risk. And it's the whole family, if you're married and you mess up this, the credit, that could impact the service member's security clearance, which could cause them to lose their job and their income. So there's definitely things that we cover on the show that can help people be overall better with their money.
And you say sometimes you do solo shows where it's just you talking about particular subjects, but also other times you bring on people that you interview. Experts.
Yes. I do more interviews than I do solo shows, but I am a financial coach. So there's some things that I want to, share my thoughts on, or, mindset, or just points that I want to make sure are clear and maybe just listed off versus a discussion. Then I do it that way.
Okay. So that's your podcast, The Military Money Show. And we can find that on iTunes, or what are we calling it now? Apple Podcasts, right?
Yes.
Is the new name. And pretty much anywhere else, Spotify, anywhere else that you listen to podcasts, you can listen to Lacey on The Military Money Show. So doing good things with military finance. And it is definitely a unique situation. The military family, the military financial situation is very unique. And a lot of your regular financial planners out there that weren't ever in the military or don't know much about military life, there's a lot of issues out there that they probably don't understand. And so it's good to have somebody that, especially like yourself, who was actually active duty yourself, and you've seen it from a military spouse perspective also, with your husband being in the Army. So and you also have credibility and clout and certifications and everything else, but you most importantly, you've lived the life and you have a genuine interest in trying to help people. I'm sure I don't necessarily want to hear like specific stories that like what are over the years. I can imagine some of the situations you've seen with military families and some of the positions they've been in, And like, does anything come to mind, like a general situation of like, I see this all the time and it's a big misconception, or some of the biggest things that you used to see, especially when you're doing a lot of one-on-one counseling with folks? Does anything jump out at you? Like, I mean, I can only imagine there's probably 1,000 different scenarios that you've seen with
Yes.
Financial hardship and everything else going on with military families.
Yes. Some of them are very sad. And some of them are what you expect, that people aren't saving, they're living outside their means and it causes a struggle. But oftentimes I'll have the youngest, lowest ranking person come in and be like, I have $200,000 in my checking account. I'm like, that's awesome. We should probably get out of your checking account though. We can make that money work a little bit better for you other ways, but like you did it all the right things. Then, you have really high ranking people that don't have a lot of money. And then some of it's like classic. I had created this thing called Black Ops budget because I coached a lot of young male service members. And I would do this whole process of creating a budget. There would be a lot of money missing. And I was like, okay, there's like $1,000 here that is basically unaccounted for every month, or, like $800. And then you can tell they're getting uncomfortable. I'm like, okay, maybe you're doing something with your money that you're not comfortable telling a lady about. I was like, we will make a Black Ops line in your budget and you tell me how much you're spending. And we're going to talk about how you can't have a blank check for whatever that is, because it's not about, you work really hard for your money. As long as you're not, I would always give the caveat, you're not hurting anybody or doing something illegal. But if you want to spend $1,000 a month on Pez dispensers, that's your business. Like, probably you should invest more of that money, but that's how you want to spend your money. Cause I had somebody come in one time and they wanted to spend $3,000 on a fish tank. And it wasn't even for the tank. It was like for the stuff that's going in it and fish. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money for a fish tank. But that was their passion. That was their hobby. And I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out how we're going to, be smart with this. So it's all walks of stuff that it's the most intimate things, you're talking with somebody about.
Black Ops
Black
line
Ops
item.
budget.
Yeah. Black Ops budget, line item, Black Ops items. That's hilarious. All right. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. Be right back. All right, back talking with Lacey Langford, who is a financial coach, financial counselor, Air Force veteran, and military spouse, creator and host of the Military Money Show, and also creator, founder of MilMoneyCon, which the first one's coming up in April of 2022. So, Lacey, so you've got a successful podcast going, you got a good financial coaching business going, military financial coach. Why the conference? Why are you starting up, and why are you doing MilMoneyCon?
Well, I think I started to see changes like the podcast and coaching. I could help more people by reaching a wider audience with the podcast. Well, more and more people were coming to me. I've sat on boards trying to help the military community with money. I've also been through the process of getting out of the military, trying to start a financial career. I've also been a military spouse trying to start and maintain a financial career. And it's very frustrating. And I've taken this side road. There's been a lot of adapting and overcoming with my husband's career as an infantry officer, and me wanting to be a financial coach and be a financial planner. And all of these things started to come together where people were wanting to learn how to make money as a financial professional that were military affiliated. A lot of military spouses coming to me wanting to learn how I built my business. Also, service members getting out and wanting to start this career field. I do a lot of mentorship, and more people are coming to me. And I thought, if I could get everybody together, rising tides lift all ships. We can teach each other how to make money in this career field. But then also sitting on boards advising about problems and solutions in the money and military space. People will come to me and say, I have this really great idea. We should do a course, or we should do this thing for a website. And I would say, there's already a thing. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, but people aren't aware of it because we're not getting together to discuss it. And so MilMoneyCon is a way to bring together the military community to connect and to network, and rising tides can lift other ships, but also to be aware of things that are going on in the community. If we're not talking, we're not going to find those things out. But then also the third major component for me is earning power. That's a major frustration. I've struggled for a very long time to get to the point where I'm at. And it didn't have to be so difficult if I had maybe had more mentorship or understood the playing field sooner. And this event will be an opportunity to help veterans, military spouses, people that are on active duty that are already trying to understand the playing field and network and start their career out the door. This will be an opportunity for them to get up to speed a lot faster and get their earning power to where it needs to be when they come off active duty.
Yeah. I've been in this veteran niche for a long time now. Probably back since late 2014 timeframe. So what's that, like going on 8 years? And one thing I've noticed with all of it really is, like you mentioned, was there's a lot of organizations and programs out there just waiting to help veterans and military spouses and family members. And there's a lot of veterans, military spouses, and family members that want help, people from the military community. But the hard part's connecting them. There's still this great divide between the two groups. There's companies that want to hire veterans, and there's veterans that want to go work for those companies. But it just seems like there's a constant, it's like looking across the Grand Canyon, and neither side can figure out how to get to the other side or bring them over to their side.
That is a great description. It is a great divide.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because you get it, I get it. Like, we're further along and we see the playing field a lot more, and we're connected to maybe to more people or to those resources. And I want that for other people. I don't want it. Took me years to get to the point. Same thing for you, 8 years, you're saying. And we have the opportunity to interview a lot of people and meet a lot of people. And so we know about more resources. And I think being able to help people get to that point faster would connect them, get them to jobs, get them to opportunities so they can not have such a struggle getting out of the military. And same thing for military spouses. It doesn't need to be such a struggle. And it's a major transition going from, an active duty career to a civilian career, and one in finance, because there's regulations and accreditations and things like that to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's helpful to get people connected faster.
Yeah. So where did you come up with the idea for MilMoneyCon?
Well, I attend a lot of conferences. So seeing what it does, I think that has also helped me get up to speed faster, attending things in the financial space like FinCon, attending podcast stuff like Podcast Movement, Podfest, going to Military Influencer, other conferences, seeing what the power of bringing people together. And there's not one for financial career fields. And I think that that's one gap that needs to be filled. So I'm giving it a go.
So how's the learning curve been on that?
It's been big. It's, I've taken a long time to understand the financial playing field, understand the media field, the podcasting. And so This is something new to learn, but I'm holding on to the fact that I know if this goes off well, it will help a lot of people. So that's my main motivation, is that if I can just get it together, then it will have a major impact. So, but I'm learning about event space, how to pay for those, how to find the best one. And then the financial person in me is like, I don't want it to be super expensive. I want people to be able to afford to come. So it's like negotiating like a hotel space and getting sponsorship to help reduce, prices and cover things and provide value to people. And then understanding ticketing platforms, selling tickets, how am I going to get speakers, doing a speaker submission form and using a platform for people to submit and things like that. So it's been good. And luckily there's a lot of things that I've already used in my business that, I've been able to translate over to this. So it's not as steep as it could be, but it's still, a new thing to learn.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the actual conference itself. So where can we find it? MilMoneyCon?
Yes. MilMoneyCon.com is the website. There's all the information. It's constantly being updated though, as I'm firming up the schedule, but currently speaker submissions are out. The speaker submission form is on the website, and it's got some information on some of the bigger events that I'm doing, I'm very focused on building community and bringing people together. So we're going to do things like a fun run. It wouldn't be a military event without a 5K.
Really?
And I'm really passionate about the people earning more money. And one big thing that we're doing the first half day of the event is the hiring hub, which is going to be a massive hiring hub for people to find money making opportunities. So there's going to be a speed networking where there'll be tables where there'll be a company on one side and an attendee on the other. And you have 15 minutes to connect with them to see
Mhm.
ways that you can work together, whether that be an internship, freelance writing, a full-time job, a part-time job, or maybe just a foot in the door if you're still on active duty to be able to follow up with that person as you get closer to your ETS.
Yeah, that
And
sounds
then,
awesome.
yes, I think that's really great just to find opportunities because you don't know what companies are looking for. They don't know what you're capable of. And having 15 minutes to sit down and tell them a little bit about yourself and what you're looking for could lead to massive opportunity.
Oh yeah.
The other area in the hiring hub is going to be expert group coaching. So not everybody is ready to sit down and, maybe they're, personality wise or where they're at in their career to sit down and talk with somebody. So there'll be roundtables with experts to coach people on various topics like how to get paid as a financial expert in freelance writing, how to set up an amazing LinkedIn account, because that's something that service members aren't and military spouses often aren't familiar with, is selling themselves, putting themselves out there, setting up their accounts. Also about interviewing. We, sat on boards or sat for the boards for promotion, but sitting down for an interview is a different process. And so having these experts coach people through how to increase their earning power and help their career will be a big component. And then there'll also be a networking lounge for attendees to connect with each other, to have a moment to reflect, to connect with people on LinkedIn, and have more visual information on hiring will be in that area. So that will be a massive component of the events because I want people to make more money at what they do. And then another passion project at this event I'm going to be doing is a thing called Make Your Point. I see it all the time. People come to me because of the space I'm in and the mentorship that I do, is that they're like, hey, this is something that we should be paying attention to. This is a problem or this is a solution, but it's not getting the microphone that it needs. And
Mhm.
so this will be a peer facilitated event or peer voted event. And so at the beginning of the conference, people have the opportunity to put down their idea, who they are, and then other attendees can vote on it. So I've given the example of buy now, pay later. It's a huge problem, especially within the military community. This is a new way for people to buy things online and in stores, but it's the new payday loan. It's a problem because people aren't tracking that it's credit. And if you miss those payments, all that interest is going to come piling on you and it's going to be reported to the credit bureau. So it's going to impact security clearances. And I had been beating that drum for a while, but nobody, was listening for a while. And so stuff like that would be wonderful at the event for Make Your Point. So if they get voted in, the top 5 votes at the closing session, they get 5 minutes to make their point to the entire audience. And it's just their microphone and their message. There's no slides. So it's just so that we can get stuff on people's radar sooner within the community that could be helpful or just things that people should be paying attention to.
Wow. And you also have individual speakers and breakout sessions. What else we got going on?
Yes. So there'll be breakout sessions. There's different tracks that people can apply and subjects they'll be on. So there'll be career transitions, or starting out in the career field. There'll be panel discussions for people that want to have more of a think tank. People can talk about very specific military money topics like their savings plan or the blended retirement system. Also practice, like how can you be a better coach or a planner will be one track. Also earning and entrepreneurship. How can you make money as a financial professional? And then they'll also be produce and market. So if you are creating content like a podcaster in this space or a YouTuber, how do you, create that content? How do you market it? How do you use social media? Those type of things will all be tracks that people can speak on. And then those can be attendance sessions.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I am planning on going. So if I want to attend, I go to militarymoneycon.com. I can buy my ticket there.
Yes. Yes. And get them because they'll be going up, in the next few weeks as it gets closer to the event. So make sure that you get them early because, the financial coach in me wants people to save money.
Yeah. And you've only got so many tickets, right?
Yes. Yes. It's going to
So
be, since it's my
limited
first go
number.
round, I want to make sure that I can get my footing before I go super big.
Mhm.
Fingers crossed for 2023. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's you can go to the website and get your ticket right there.
Okay. And you have managed to get a few sponsors for the conference, right?
Yes, yes. So far, USAA, the Association of Military Banks, and FinCon are sponsors. And then we also have exhibitor tables. So there will be an exhibitor hall. So you'll be able to interact more with companies to learn more about what they're doing, how potentially you could work together, because there's two types of tickets. There's a basic pass and a power pass, kind of playing on the earning power. And the higher level pass, the power pass, gives you access to that hiring hub. It also gives you access to, all the sessions. It gives you recordings from the sessions plus the keynotes, but you get access to a networking pro pass mixer where speakers, sponsors, and those power pass holders will be able to mingle and have a little special evening out together at the event. So or you can have the basic pass, and that still gives you access to the recordings of the keynotes, and you get access to all the sessions and things like that, but just not the hiring hub.
Uh-huh. Wow. And hey, we do got to get a shout out for Sarah.
Yes.
She's going to listen to this episode because
Yes,
so
I hope she gets
Sarah
it.
actually is your virtual assistant who does all your back end work in helping produce your podcast. And then when I came to you and said, when my last person dropped out, I came to you and said, like, who do you use? And you actually let me use Sarah also. So totally, completely grateful for her. So she's been awesome. And so she produces all the back end stuff, publishing of episodes and everything for my podcast also. So figure I'd
Yes.
get a shout out, maybe get a little embarrassment, but she's definitely like one of those fire forget weapons. I mean, you just say something and she just figures it out and it's done.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
She's a huge help, and yeah, a huge fan of her and the work that she does for both of us.
Yeah. And she was active military and a military spouse still. And so fits right in with the fold
Yes.
of everything.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, and that's the perk, is that she understands. There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
we don't have to explain to her. So yeah, she just knows.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, Lacey, I do want to give you the last word. We haven't talked specifically about entrepreneurship per se. We talked about all the things you're doing, which is heavily laden with entrepreneurship, running your own podcast and starting up a conference from scratch. If you're talking to somebody that's in the military or on their way out of the military, got out recently, and they're looking to get into business for themselves or run their own show, something along those lines, or just want to put their feet in the water as far as the entrepreneurship pool, what comes to mind? What kind of advice would you have for them?
I would say go for it. You don't want to look back 5 years from now and wish you would have started sooner. That's
Mm-hmm.
one thing I wish I would have really gone more full force into it sooner. But if it's something that you want to do, I would say get connected, talk with other entrepreneurs. The mindset is very helpful. Like we have the benefit. I always get to talk to you. We talk about our businesses, and that's very helpful because you get it. I get it. We understand it versus talking to somebody that hasn't started their own business or run their own business. So I say, get connected. You can use tools like Veterati. That's free mentorship through LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I coach on there. I don't know if you do that, but that's a great way to find veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs that will give you an hour of their time for free to give you advice on getting started in business. Or if you're struggling, to grow or have a problem, they might be able to provide solutions and give you some advice. So I would say go for it, but try to get connected to the veteran entrepreneurship community.
Yeah. I think you could sum that up by saying, go for it, but go get help. Like that new book, Not How, but Who. If you just find the right people, it's so much easier to make it happen. So just go get help. There's so many programs and people and resources out there that are just dying to help great veterans and military spouses run their.
Well, that's what, when I started my coaching business, I didn't get help, and it took so much longer, but I learned that hard lesson. And so starting MilMoneyCon, the first thing I did was go to all the entrepreneurs I know that have an event and started talking to them before I made one move. It was like, please give me your advice on if I want to go for this, like, what should I do? And, and that was very powerful. They told me the things I should focus on and the things I should not waste my time on, or when those things would come into play. Like, don't worry about that right now. That's further down the pipeline. But these are the 5 things you need to be doing right now to execute. So getting connected to the who is important.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, great advice. Well, Lacey, look forward to seeing you at the conference up there in April. And oh, wait, did we ever say where it was?
No, we didn't. It's in Cary, North Carolina.
Cary, North Carolina. I think I used to
Yeah.
know somebody that lived there, one of my Marine buddies, but
Yeah, it's in the Raleigh-Durham area.
you're okay. RDU. All right. Awesome. Well, we'll see you up there in April, and good luck selling tickets. And I'm sure it's going to be a great conference. Look forward to it.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it.
All right. These 2 veterans are Oscar Mike.